everyone, and welcome to Season 4, Episode 12 of Pro Wrestling's Top 50. I'm your host, Travis McNeil, and today we continue our countdown of the top 50 matches in Lucha Underground history with match number 39 on our list, which is the Boyle Heights street fight between Prince Puma and Mil Muertes from the June 7th, 2017 edition of Lucha Underground entitled Sudden Death. So this is the follow-up to the Grave Consequences match that these guys had earlier on in Season 3, a match that I discussed earlier on in the season of this show. It was a fun brawl, used the gimmick well, ultimately didn't live up to the original Grave Consequences match, but that's okay. So here we have a rematch. This one is just under street fight rules, and it is far better than the casket match, as good as that one was as well. Our story here, you can pick up most of it from watching the previous video, but basically these guys were engaged in a feud. They were the faces of the promotion coming out of Season 1, interacted a little at the start of Season 2, and in Season 3 they picked up a rivalry. Grave Consequences, they competed, and Prince Puma lost, was essentially put into a casket, which in the Lucha Underground world means that you are dead. Mil Muertes had previously done that to Conan's mentor and to Puma's mentor and manager Conan back in Season 1 as they built to their title match at Ultima Lucha 1. So what happens is Puma's killed off, but gets resurrected by Vampiro through some dark arts. We've talked about this a little bit as well in the Cueto Cup Finals match between Puma and Pentagon Dark, where Vampiro essentially used Puma as a pawn to get his protege Pentagon to the Lucha Underground title at Ultima Lucha Tres. So Puma comes back from the dead. He's got a bone to pick, a score to settle with Mil Muertes. He's a much darker Puma, right? Almost Prince Puma dark, if you will. He switches in, the typical yellow kind of, Puma leopard-esque gear for black and red gear, showing that he has that edge. Wears black jeans for this match, right? Really playing in the street fight vibe as well. This match is it's fast-paced. It's a wild brawl all through the crowd. It's full of big spots. It's got a cool ending, and it's just really satisfying overall. These guys have fantastic chemistry together. I've talked about it before that Mil Muertes in general has fantastic chemistry with smaller, high-flying wrestlers like he also did with Phoenix, and this match is just a delight. So it's actually Prince Puma that gets the jump on Mil at the start, so sort of the opposite of what you see in a lot of matches where the heel jumps the face. We have the face jumping the heel, and just right from the get-go, he's flying all around, hitting all sorts of offense. He hits a big Fosbury flop to the floor. He makes the mistake of setting up a table, kind of leaning against the guardrails that are outside, and Mil proceeds to spear him through that, and then just beat him all over the place. We've talked about it before, the whip into the wooden chairs that we see in a lot of these Lucha Underground brawls, so we get all of that. They fight through the crowd, and there's a great spot where they're up in the stands, and Mil grabs Puma in a fireman's carry and runs fireman style with him all the way down the stairs, and there's a lot of stairs there. And once they get down to the floor, he hits a TKO on the arena floor. Puma rallies back and hits a 450 splash off the ring apron. So they were doing some really, really cool stuff. Mil goes to throw Puma through the window of Dario Cueto's office, which is at ringside. That's, we haven't really talked much about that, but it's used as a prop in a lot of these wild brawls that we see in Lucha Underground. But rather than go through the window, Puma kicks off the wall, almost like Anthony Showtime Pettis style, right, from WC. But he kicks off the wall and hits a kick on Mil, which looked really good. But they end up brawling into Dario's office, which is great. I love, they didn't utilize this too many times, but you kind of get a look inside of the office in the context of, the actual arena, which is kind of cool. Normally it's reserved for, the cinematic backstage sequences. So they do a brawl in there, and Dario's great. The Cueto Cup was just starting to get underway. I think he just announced it. So, he's grabbing the Cueto Cup, doesn't want anything bad to happen. And it's just really great, and a really great showing of Dario's great character work. We get a bit of a stare down between Mil and Vampiro, so, kind of doing that slow burn that they've been doing all through Season 3 of Vampiro taking this interest in Puma, and almost like Mil, this man that had been brought back from the dead himself, kind of knew that there was that dark arts in play, hence that little stare down. Puma gets wild with a bunch of stuff here. We get weapons involved, of course, because it's a street fight. One thing that I haven't really talked about much with Lucha Underground, but a lot of times in WWE, when we have these street fights or these hardcore matches, the weapons almost seem like sterilized, right? Like they're shiny and they look good. Not in Lucha Underground. They make the weapons look old and dirty and rusty, and it's a really cool aesthetic that ends to that kind of like underground feel that the Aztec Temple has. So when these guys are using garbage cans, there's garbage in them, and they're dirty and they're disgusting and they're vile, and that's what we see here. So Puma hits like a Van Daminator using a trash can lid, which was really cool. He hits a somersault Van Terminator with a trash can in front of Mill, very Shane McMahon style, which looked great. Just a phenomenal move. He's so athletic. He gets the 630 and seems to have the match won. So prior to Grave Consequences, Puma had actually put Mill away with the 630 in a one-on-one contest that they had. So Katrina's desperate. She actually uses the big stone that she carries around that's, from the rubble of when she found Mill, and she hits Puma in the head with it. We basically get a double down from there. So Vampiro interjects himself and hands Prince Puma a brick. And that's our finish. He actually hits Mill in the head with a brick, which is brutal. Looks really good. Again, Lucha Underground does a really good job at like gimmicking, cinder blocks and bricks and things like that, for some of the matches that we've seen where those get incorporated. So Mill gets drilled with this brick, and it's enough for Puma to get the 3. This match is great. Like I said, great chemistry between these guys. It's a very worthy follow-up that, exceeds their Grave Consequences match, like I mentioned. It's just so much fun, and I love like these wild, kind of high-flying Lucha Underground brawls that we would see a lot of, and, binge watching this series, all at once to get ready, for this season of the show. Shockingly, I didn't get sick of any of them. Some of them are a little similar, but they all throw in, little twists and turns and different big spots and things like that, even though it's a style that we see a lot of in Lucha Underground, it always feels a little bit unique, which is really cool. Not, one match doesn't quite feel the same as any other, and that's a thing, again, we talk about WWE in a sterilized environment. Sometimes you do feel that a lot of the matches are repetitive or the same. Not in Lucha Underground. That's part of the appeal of the promotion. You can find Lucha Underground on the Tubi app, depending on where you live. If you can't find it on there, though, a quick Google search, if you go to the videos tab at the top, you should be able to find almost all of these episodes online somewhere. You can subscribe to my channel here on YouTube so that you don't miss a video. Follow me on Instagram and Twitter at Wrestling50, and please join me again tomorrow as we continue to count down Pro Wrestling's Top 50. Top 50.